Good morning, Mr. Hudson.
Good morning, mate.
And how are you, Al?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Nice to see the sun shining this morning. Back to what, a few days ago, really. You know, the old English summer.
Yeah,
Can't beat it.
absolutely. And that's where we're going to be looking into the old English summer. And by the way, welcome all to My Life, My Music with the Governor, Alan Hudson. Today we're going to be talking about pre-season and early doors, which does involve the summer. Al, you were a professional football player, pretty much, or a player who was an apprentice then to a professional football player from 66 to around about 85, 86. So pretty much 20 years, Al. You must have endured an awful lot of pre-seasons, and you have said on My Life, My Music that you would have rather given birth than pre-seasons. So let's look at those early days as an apprentice at Chelsea in 66. What was it like for you then as a young kid?
Well, it was an apprentice, I think, because it was because I went into it straight from leaving school. And when you're at school, you're pretty much on the go all the time. You know, you're playing football every day in the streets, in the playgrounds, you know, and at the weekends. So you don't really need a pre-season when you're a kid. But when you start at a higher level, an apprentice. The problem was well, it wasn't a problem. It was a good problem, really. But unlike today, they don't have pre-seasons. They just because they've all got their own. I think we spoke about this before. Uh, you know, the modern day players. Many of them have got gyms in their house, and they keep themselves. You know, they test their heart, test their lungs, everything else, and you know they go back and they wouldn't endure what we endured. Ours were you know weren't nice at all. You know we should have got double treble pay for doing pre-season. It was unbelievable, mate. It was really horrendous. You know, I've seen people cry. You know,
Mm.
it's um, Marvin Hinton was one. No, but the cross countries were probably the funniest of all. So quite a couple of nice stories about cross countries.
Well, let's have those stories about cross countries then before we delve into anything else. Beans are
Well,
on that page.
we there's a couple of events that always make me chuckle. We went to Sweden. I'm sure we've done this on air, but for those if we got any new listeners, hopefully. But we we went to a place called Almstad
Yeah.
in Sweden, and I never forget we arrived there, and it was a late Saturday night, I think, Friday night, and no Saturday night, um, and we met the conversation on the bus was he's really done it this time. You know, it was out in the wilderness. You know, nobody around. You know, it was like going to a concentration camp. Well, so we thought, and it was very dark. We went in to our rooms, threw our bags. I don't know, I was room a bit fine, but threw bags in the room, and instead of going out the front way, we went up the back staircase to the restaurant, and we opened the door, and my God, it was like unbelievable. The restaurant was like a ballroom, and they were dancing, singing, and Dave Sexton was on the long table over the far side of his hands, you know, I couldn't believe it, you know. And in the right down the bottom of the hotel was the disco, which never closed. So that's kind of set the scene to what was going to happen, and it was so. I think that kind of, you know, him and Ron said, you know, probably conversed and said, you know, we'll get them out straight away in the morning at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock for 6:30 start or something, and not knowing that we would come straight from the nightclub to the beach. And we'd have a run along the beach, and then we'd have a five-a-side, and that would be our sixth session. But around that time in the morning, it was very hazy, you know.
Yeah.
You could, it was right next to the sea, obviously, and you couldn't look out the sea because you couldn't really see anything, you know. And they'd done a walk along the beach prior to us turning up, and there was all these boats along the beach, like little canoes,
Yeah.
but they were on the right-hand side, and they were like 30 yards, 40 yards, 30 yards apart, and there was about six of them. So the first day, the, we'd done a bit of leg work, and then all of a sudden they said, well, this was kind of the cross country. Run up to the first back. And the second day it was run up to the second boat and come back. And then it was further until you got up to the sixth, was about 200, well, 150 yards away. By the between day six and Ron Sir, they couldn't see the first boat. They both, but their eyes were gone, but they couldn't see the first boat. So when we got to the fourth day, he used to send us off in fours. So I was in the front group with Pete Benetti, Eddie McCready, maybe John Hollin's son, you know, the best, you know, the runners. And about the fourth day, we got to the first boat, and there was we got to the last boat. We're coming back, and we said, what's happened to the last group? The last group hadn't come. And we got back to the first boat, and they were all lying in the first boat, and with their head up. And you know, Webby and Ozzy and Hutch and Demps, maybe, you know, they were making stuff, smoking a cigar and all that, and having a glass of brandy, you know. And then all of a sudden, they just join on on the last group as they come in, and this happened, you know, for the last few days. And on the very last day, we got to the last boat again and come back, and they joined in, but they joined in with the last group, and they got in, and Dave Sexton and Ron Sir, they applauded him. They said that was a great improvement. He said, you've caught up to the last group, you know. So they were all jumping up the air, like celebrating like they were in the Olympics. But it was great, you know. Two coaches standing there thinking, you know, and you're thinking, are they so dumb, you know, these people, you know. So that was kind of it. And then we played a five-a-side, and Charlie, who obviously been out that night, you know, someone passed the ball to me. He was looking out to sea. You know, by this time, you know, the thing had lifted, and he was looking out to sea. He's got his hand up over his eyes, you know, look and see if there was anything out there, and Sexton just picked the ball up. He said, if that's what you come down here, Charlie, we can all go back and do another run up to the boats, you know. So he picked the ball up, and we went again. So it was hilarious, but it didn't matter because none of us had been to bed in it. Well, records of the team hadn't been to bed that night, so it was a bit of fun, and you can imagine the quality of the five-a-side on the beach. It was great. But that will always stick out. But and if strangely enough, Epsom, every time Epsom races comes on the telly, you know, they call from Satnam Corner, they call that one, you know, the horses really know they're in a battle here as they come round Tattenham Corner. Well, we used to run round that corner. We used to do that on a Monday morning. But the reason we do it is if he came in and he see 3 or 4 of the boys had been out, he would cancel training, and we'd all go in a club van and go to Epsom. And after about a month of doing this, well, 4 times of doing it, he would Ron Suit would go out into the trees, and Norman Meadows would go out into the trees as spies, because he was suspicious that players were cutting across through the trees and not and it was there would bodies. There was people. I mean, they were up trees looking. But you know, but I used to think that run down Tatnam Corner and back home was unbelievable because it was like watching a load of Indians come out of the trees and scatter. You know, it was unbelievable. So those were cross country. They were that wasn't a pre-season Epsom. That was a
Yeah,
Monday. That was a Monday when I had bed the wrong side. But all good fun, clean fun.
absolutely. So, getting them Chelsea boys on tour with a ballroom and a disco, to be fair, it wasn't the greatest of ideas from Sexton, but you did have some fun. What was the most difficult pre-season? Is there a pre-season that you look back through your career and think that was? I mean, that was great there in Sweden, but that was horrendous. That one that we had to endure. Have you got one that was like so bad it still sits in that memory bank like a real bad dream, Al?
No, I think that they really were all the same.
Yeah,
There was not
got you.
one. I remember that there was an article when one of the Evening Standard, I think it was, and it's shown they done. I think I'm not quite sure, just Chelsea or all London clubs in pre-season, and I had photos of It might have been all clubs because I
Hmm.
think. Malcolm, I remember seeing Malcolm MacDonald, who wasn't the greatest runner.
Yeah,
You know, he could sprint, but his long distance was non-existent. But and I remember showing photos, putting photos in the paper, and they showed one of me, finishing a run, and it was, the pain was
yeah,
unbelievable. Because the problem was unlike today, I mean, I think we'd have about six weeks off, eight
mm,
weeks maybe. I
yeah,
don't know. And it wasn't till later years when I got or even when I got to Stoke, I would make sure I would do a bit of training. If I went on holiday, I would always run the beaches and all things like that, so it wouldn't be so painful when I got back. But it was a time. It really was, and the worst thing of it was is especially is that it was incredible. The nearer you got to the season, the bigger the blisters got.
yes.
You know,
Mm,
and there was so much problem. I used to hate the first few games. You have to, and you're breaking in new boots
yeah,
and everything else. It was a horrendous time of the year, and I always used to think to myself, even as a young pro, and when I first got in the team, if only someone invented a pill, to get a pre-season pill that you could just get you fit, because
mm,
it was so, even when I went back later on with all the new gang, the ones that got promoted, the Kerry Dickinson and but it was just, you know, although like, because I didn't really have to push myself.
are you sitting in the same place, Al? You're really breaking up today. Are you
Yeah, I haven't moved, mate. I haven't moved.
that you use your place for the My Life, My Music?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's mad,
yeah.
and it's weird.
No, well, I just had a phone call before I spoke to you, and I got cut off 3 times. So, no, I think
Yeah.
someone's. I wouldn't be surprised what's going on in the world. Someone's hacking our calls. I really don't. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
But,
it is a mad world. Um, yeah, so your pre how did you did mention your family holidays? How did that impact the pre-season with the family holidays? Because when a normal person, like when we go on our family holidays, it's a break from work. Yeah, okay, you've got to go back to work and you've got to work. But you as a professional footballer, you know that arguably your first, how long would pre-season go on for? A week, maybe 2 weeks? You know that that's probably your worst week or two in football. So surely that's in the back of your mind, and it impacts you throughout the summer.
well, yeah. I mean, it's like anything else in
Mm,
life. It's an experience. You take this all on board, and but I mean, I was one of those. I was training as hard
yeah,
when I was 46 to the day I got hit by the car. I
Mm.
mean, that was probably one of my hardest training sessions of all time, you
Yes.
know. So, you know, I always kind of looked after myself. I always believed if you want to go, if you, you know, I think I told you a story about my father said about well, played against Leeds, and he said if he keeps playing like that, he'll be out of the game soon.
Mm.
And I upped my training, and I really I knew that I had to, you know, train harder than anyone else if I was going to live that lifestyle. I wasn't going to give the lifestyle up for nobody. So, you know, that was it. And um, you know, I can remember holidays I went away with my second wife, and you know, she couldn't believe that I get out of bed at 8 or 7 in the morning and run the beach, you know. But I found that fantastic. Oh, there's no better feeling, you know, doing it when you ain't got two coaches, you know, coming up with something ridiculous, you know. But no, that's why we talk about it being so horrendous because you know I was a good trainer and I enjoyed training. I loved training, you know, and I loved. In the end, I loved running. I enjoyed running, and it's great. Even running the streets, you know, you see people walking along and limping and everything else, and people that can't walk, and you know you can do this. So I felt very grateful for it.
And I suppose when you look back at the pre-season, although it was enduring and it was hard, you know, it was, I mean, it was hard because A, you got the summer, B, you got your new boots and your socks and you're sweating more as well. So you've got all the elements that are working against you. But you've always enjoyed running. I mean, your game, you never stopped running. I don't get all these stats these days, but you were, as your dad alluded, you alluded about your dad with Paul Madeley, and you knew that you had to up your game in terms of fitness, and you must have been one of the fittest at every football club that you went to, Al, wasn't you?
Well, I wasn't the naturally fittest.
Okay,
That was the thing about me. I had to work at me
yeah,
running.
sure.
Uh, there was, you know, people like Peter Bonetti. You know, he ran like the wind. You know, and he
Right.
didn't need to. And he didn't need to run.
No, he's a
That's the
goalie.
best. Yeah, yeah. But I put him to bed one day. I said to Ozzy after a night out, I said I'm going to put him to bed tomorrow. We have this. Dave Sexton brought this thing that like the 12-minute running. He found out that the people that went to the moon used to do it. You know, the rockets scientists said to come up with this 12-minute run, and they could check the heartbeat or something. There's some crazy
Mm.
theory, and I said I'm going to have him tomorrow, and because he used to take his shoes off and run around Mitcham and like you know kind of lap some people,
Blimey.
and I said, oh, and I started laughing. So I had a bet with Oz. I won my bet anyway, so that was all right. But yeah, it was every club you had a runner, you know,
Yeah.
who were like you know Olympian runners really. They could have some fit lads that were about naturally fit, but I had to work in mine.
So
Uh,
at Chelsea, was Benetti then probably the best natural long distance runner that you had?
yeah, yeah, Benetti was. Sometimes people like to put their mind to it and take him on.
Mm.
Uh, but I weren't far. I weren't. I think if I really, really put myself out, I could have, you know, been up there with him. But it was a matter of, you know, it was especially Monday mornings. You know, it's not the same on a Monday morning. If it had been a Saturday afternoon, we would have had no chance. I'd have done him. But you know, I've got 5 days to get over it.
Who was so at Chelsea, at Stoke, at Arsenal, similar pre-seasons throughout your career? Who were the runners? Who were the guys that thrived on that pre-season? You know, that enjoyed the cross country at the other
Nobody.
clubs. Really?
Nobody in their right mind could enjoy pre-season. It was really, an experience you don't really want to go through. You you hated it before you when you come back of holiday, and you really used to enjoy the last few days before you went back, and that was the worst thing you could do
Yes.
because it's so there was no getting away from it. All treatment rooms, every club I'd ever been to were full throughout. With this, that, and the other, and plus the fact that the dreaded blister.
Yeah.
It was something you couldn't get away from. But these, as I say, the modern day footballers wouldn't have a clue what it was
Mm.
all about. Because they're fit. They play 12 months of the year now anyway, so they don't have to have pre-season. Well, all this we listen on Sky and the early games. You take them 6 games to get fit and all that. Well, they just come back from the Euros, don't they? Come on,
Absolutely.
and there's no excuse for them now.
When you went over to the Great Northwest in Washington State and played for Seattle, what was the pre-season like there, Al? Was it very similar to what you'd witnessed back in England?
Well,
Mm.
it was, but we kind of
Yeah.
we were lucky really because we played indoor out of season,
Mm.
and my friend at that time. It was pretty sad. We lost Roy Greaves about 6 weeks ago.
Mm.
My mate that played at Bolton, he was my really good friend over there, and we'd be out playing tennis at the weekends and before, and have a shower and out we go. So you keep yourself fit, but as I say, the indoor football was on. So no, it was just. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but England was. I suppose it was the same as in Scotland, but I don't know about other countries around the world. I don't know what they did. I would imagine in Italy they wouldn't give them that kind of time off.
Mm.
That's judging by the way Jimmy Greaves went there and come back, and it's like living in a concentration camp the whole year round. It's unbelievable.
And of course,
But
Dennis Law didn't last very long out there, neither did he?
well, yeah, and when they're talking a different language as well, and
Yes.
you're thinking you think they're smiling when they're saying it. You think, oh, this can't be bad. You just go on just follow the lads, and you never ending. But it was so grueling. It was, and they throw the doggies in, later on, and the doggies, you see many a top pro collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, these are doggies. It's a training exercise. They're not sending in the ex-bully dog to really give you a right chasing. I mean,
No,
that would
well,
that would have been the sum up, wouldn't it? Right, boys. Last couple of days, we're sending in the dogs.
yeah, we might as well have. They might as well have
How long
because,
did they ordinarily go on for, Al, your pre-season?
well, I suppose it seemed like the whole summer,
Yeah.
but it was. I think we had a month of pre-season.
Blimey, was it that long? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I think we if we kicked off in August, we'd go back in
Yeah.
yeah, July. So we'd have from the cup final used to be early May. Then we was off May, June,
Mm.
and probably late July. We'd get cracking all through July and into the beginning of August for the season. But I was one of those. I couldn't get fit in pre-season, no matter how hard it was.
Yeah.
And it always took me 3, 4, 5, 6 games of getting me stride. I was delighted really later on. I thought games and I thought of early games. I was talking to someone the other day when we beat Leeds 4-0 at the Bridge first game, and uh, Peter Lorimer, he got injured, the goalkeeper, and Peter Lorimer
Mm.
went in goal. But and then it's Stoke when we beat Leeds again with Brian Clough's first game, and then we beat Leeds again at Stoke first game. So I don't know. I suppose as I got older, I've probably weren't running around. That was probably because I weren't running around Chelsea all night,
Mm.
going from pubs to clubs to back to pubs, back to clubs, So yeah, although I was in my mid-20s, I think it got better as I got around that age.
And again, when we say the pre-season, because of course you start back in July and you kick off in August, but the pre-season that I'm looking at, all the running up the hills and all the rest of it, the real hard enduring slog that was an absolute nightmare for every professional footballer. Did that go on for maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, and then a ball was introduced? Because at some stage, the manager and the coaches would introduce a football to pre-season training. When did that day arrive, and how relieved were you to see a ball?
Yeah, I think it was probably about 10 days,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. There was nothing exciting about it. You didn't really want to see a ball, to tell the truth, because you're frightened of pulling something or whatever,
Yeah.
because you was aching all over. There's no fun playing when you're aching all
Mm.
over. Uh, um, the talking about hills and things like that. I mean, there was one every time I go to Stoke, I look at the big hill at Trentham. How we used to get up that one, I don't know. It was incredible. Like you get up the top, it was like Rocky, looking over the top of the world. It was unbelievable that you made it. And the bodies you pass on the way, it's like watching a war film. You you couldn't pick them up because it was so difficult.
Yeah.
But it was an experience that you have to go through. But as I say, the modern day player don't. I'm really surprised that someone never had the common sense to tape all of that and put it on film, because it would have been a fantastic documentary.
I don't think there'd be anybody that could keep up with you when you're doing that, or anybody that would want to keep up with you. You'd probably need an Olympic marathon runner or a long distance runner of 10,000 metres to keep up with you with a camera. Was Waddington involved in the pre-season? Who was the
No,
trainer at
no.
Stoke that went round with you and made sure that you'd done all this? Who was the coach there at Stoke that took over pre-season for you now?
Well, Liverpool players will remember a fella called Alan Hudson.
Okay,
He,
yeah.
he played on left wing
Mm,
for Liverpool, and obviously the great George Easton.
yeah.
But George, I think enjoyed watching us in pain. You know, especially the ones that were lippy, in
Yeah.
training. But yeah, they would set out the paths and everything else,
Yes.
and it was it was interesting, some of the things they come in with, but it wasn't too difficult to know that was the. Yeah, I would think in Miles you wouldn't have got a hill like that. The Trentham Hills were the devil. It was unbelievable. And people think it was just as hard getting up the top as bad enough coming down. So you need an escalator really. It's
Be like that cheese chasing. By the time you've got up to the top of the hill, they drop a cheese and you've got to go and chase the cheese. Because going down the
well,
hill, Al, if it's steep, it's probably more dangerous going down the bleeding hill running than going up it.
well, it is. It
Mm,
was then really,
yeah.
because you've lost control. Really,
Yes.
you've lost all control of your
Mm,
body. You're not doing what you want.
no.
You're doing what your body's telling you to do at
Mm,
that stage. But it was, I think Chelsea. I can't remember too much. I don't even know if I'd done a pre-season at Arsenal. I don't think I did.
mm,
Because I was only there one summer,
yeah.
and that was when I got sent home Australia, and I was banned for the rest of the summer. So I should have done it every year, really. I don't know. I don't know out of all them years on tour, on pre-season tours and end of season tours,
Yeah.
how I was the only player ever to get sent home. I don't get that one.
It was quite incredible, but we'll blame that on Malcolm McDonald. Is there any songs, Al, that remind you of those summers? I mean, in the summer of '69, the big hit was "Honky Tonk Woman" by the Rolling Stones, and another one, a summertime sensation, was "In the Summertime" by Mungo Jerry. Spent
Remember?
7 weeks at #1. That did. So, is there any songs that when you're doing your pre-season, they're going around your head?
Uh, I remember one tour, I think it was the end of season tour, though, the Beatles come out with back in the USSR, and I
Yeah.
remember in training thinking of that one and thinking we was in Russia.
And to listen to the rest of this podcast, head on over to www.patreon.com/SRB Media. Thank you.